final race of the season, of the day here in Estoril, will be the Moto2 European Championship and the second race of their campaign. Lukas Tulovic was able to claim the race victory this morning, but in a field that looks much more competitive this year, it'll be interesting to see whether Tulo is able to hold on to the top spot. In the Moto2 class, we've got Triumph engine bikes, we've got a Honda engine Moto2 machine, we've also got a dozen stock machines on the Yamahas as well. It is a very mixed up grid, but it is Tulovic that's going to lead the way once again. Welcome back to Estoril. Steve English and Kiko Giles bringing you the action now for the final race of the day here in Portugal. It's the Moto2 European Championship, and Lukas Tulovic, finally a race winner, Kiko, and he's going to get the opportunity to back that up again here in race 2.
It took him long enough, Steve. 9 podiums before today, all of which were in 3rd place. He had 3 poles here before, and finally took to the top step. It was a very easy victory as well. We had a couple of red flags in Moto2's first outing, so we didn't actually get to full distance to really see what was Tulovic's pace like in the final third. It was only an 11-lap race. Here it is now. Tulovic got an absolute peach of a start. No jump starts at all. This was in the original start, and as you can see, that was a disaster with Tommaso Marcon. Thankfully, he was relatively okay. Red flag waved, and we got to do it all over again. This time, Tulovic got another fantastic launch, and no one really saw which way he went after then. Peter Bishikirski was up inside the top 2 early on, ahead of Senna Agius and Xavi Cardalus as everyone filtered through the opening few corners. Tulovic made hay whilst the sun shone, whilst in the back it was all the battles as usual. Number 4 of Hector Garzo coming through very early on, although that wouldn't last long. The 81, that is Senna Agius from the middle of the front row, came back into 2nd place. Whilst further down, this is what took Hector Garzo out of contention. He lost the rear at turn 4 and ended in the gravel. Peter Bishikirski was being closed in by Xavi Cardalus, the Andorran rider, riding very well in the opening encounter, but no one could lay a glove on Lukas Tulovic at the front. A red flag for a crash between Cardalus and Bishikirski at turn 1 puts an end to race 1. It all belonged to Tulovic anyway. He was the victor.
Impressive stuff from Lukas Tulovic to be able to claim the race victory this morning in the European Moto2 Championship. And Kiko, we saw there just how good he was. He led every lap. He didn't look under pressure. He was able to consistently open up a gap of a couple of tenths of a second a lap here and there, and just that consistency just was the difference for him in claiming that race victory from Senna Agius. But interestingly, Tulovic is one of the few riders out there with the Triumph engine. That does give it a little bit of an advantage as well. Absolutely, and of course Tulovic has had plenty of Moto2 experience. He is no rookie to the class, as we say, who's just coming straight in from a smaller class. He will have plenty of experience at Estoril. He said to me that it's a track he likes, so this should be a dream combination for a double. But this is the Moto2 European Championship. Nothing is that straightforward, and I wouldn't be so surprised we see Senna Agius a little bit closer. Obviously, working hard through his career. He's been training with Leon Camus, who's now the Team HRC World Superbike Outfit Team Manager. That was last year when he was in Moto3, picked up points then. So Senna Agius obviously just needed a bit more power, and he's got more power, and he's got a better result because of it. Yeah, he looks very comfortable out there on the Moto2 machine. We did see Leon Camus down there in Parc Fermé as well, just giving encouragement to Senna, so that's good to see. And certainly Agius looks like he's made a big step forward, And when you compare what he's been able to do here in the Moto2 class compared to in the Moto3 class, he does look like a very different animal. He's been super competitive all the way through this weekend on the bigger bike. And when you consider that his career best result in Moto3 was only a 13th place finish, this is a massive step.
Huge. He looks rejuvenated. I don't know why that necessarily is. I don't know if it's literally because he's got more power, or if he's been training hard over the winter, doing a different type of training, change the mentality. We've said before, it's not always easy to showcase your talent in classes such as the Junior GP and also the Hawkers European Talent Cup, which are so random at times. It's very hard to pick out a star. Maybe Senna just didn't have the opportunity to shine.
Yeah, and certainly for Senna, just with his size, maybe it's where the Moto2 bike makes a big difference. And in this field, you can separate yourself out quite a bit because it's a field that's so varied. When you look at Tulovic out there with the Triumph engine bike at the front of the field, you've got Agius and the likes of Birshikerski out there on the Honda-powered machine. You've got 13 stock bikes out there as well. It's a very different class to pretty much anything else in racing.
Yeah, even though Moto2 was always brought in to be a one-make class, this class of Moto2 is absolutely by no means one-make. You've got KTMs on the grid this year. You've got the Honda engines and the Triumph engine. You've got the Yamahas in the Stock 6. You've got the usual Kalex, the Bosco Oscuros. You've even got an MV Agusta. That was Hector Garzo. That's what he's riding. So there's a real array of machinery this year.
Yeah, and certainly when you look down the order inside the top 10 in the opening race of the season, we obviously saw the Kalex bikes at the front of the field, but we also saw a stock bike up there inside the top 7 with Alex Ruiz on the Yamaha. We also saw Tagliarini on the Bosco Oscuro inside the top 10. The KTM was Eduardo Montero up there in 9th spot. So there is plenty of variety up there, and that's really good to see. And certainly it is going to be a case of just making sure that you're able to tick all the boxes to get the job done over the course of a weekend, because if you're the likes of Lucas Tulovic, you know that there was the expectation you had to win a race, and now he's been able to get that monkey off his back. He's certainly going to start this afternoon's second race of the season as the clear favourite, but it's up to him to get the job done once again. Yeah,
I mean, he looks on course for a double podium here last year. It was snatched from him. He made a mistake coming out of turn 7. He'll be hoping for no repeats of that. I mean, he shouldn't be feeling the pressure as much. He's definitely in command. As you can see with the screens, with the pictures we're showing, Steve, it's sunny and it's warm here today in Estoril.
Yeah, it is absolutely baking here in Estoril, and you can see the bit of a breeze there with the flags. And Kiko, you were just down in Park Ferme. I'd say you were pretty thankful for that little bit of a breeze.
I was actually. As you all know, I like a bit of tanning, but breeze stopped the burn, that is for sure. It's very, very humid as well. You wouldn't think it's May here. It feels like June or July. It's a proper summer.
It's very different to what we had last year whenever there was the threat of rain all the way through in those opening races of the year here in Estoril and then also in Valencia. But for these European Talent Cup riders, the Junior GP riders, and now in the European Championship for Moto2, they've had pretty much perfect conditions all the way through this week.
Yeah, easy running. The track conditions have only they've got grippier. There's been no green track because there's been a shower overnight. Nope, it's been sunny right from the word go. The only problem is it's got so hot now, the track temperature's coming up into the 40s. It was 43 last time we saw it. So it's greasy, and mistakes are coming because it's greasy.
Looking at our timing screens as well, we're waiting for pit lane to open. It's going to open now in about a minute's time, but there's going to be a few changes on the grid because Peter Birshikerski doesn't look like he's taking the start, and also Tommaso Marcon, the 2 riders that we saw involved in big crashes in the opening race of the weekend, look like they're not going to be out there. So it'll be Tulovic from Senna Aegis and then Hector Garzo on the MV Agusta starting from the front row of the grid.
Yeah, good stuff from Garzo. Don't forget he had the penalty that put him towards the back of the grid in the opening race. He came through from there until he crashed. Now he's got a front row. Be interesting to see what he can do, and it's a different dynamic now because Tulovic didn't really have that clear-cut opposition. Garzo's coming back to the European Championship of Moto2 from the World Championship.
Yeah, and for Garzo, he does have experience of being right at the front of the field in this class. He's been able to be a front runner before he stepped onto Moto2 World Championship machinery. He is a rider that's been on the podium in the World Championship as well, so he's obviously a very talented Moto2 rider, knows what it takes to be successful on these bikes, and certainly that is what we expect to see from him all the way through the season. The riders now forming their way through pit lane to get themselves out there. That's Marco Garcia on the Yamaha just heading out, and you can see down there into pit lane as well the number 31 machine just getting ready to go out as well. That's Garcia on that Cardozo bike.
Yeah, lots of different riders and teams that you can see on the screen there. That's the 37. That is one of the Vision Track riders. It's Corey Tinker. So Corey Tinker, one of the big British stars, say, coming through the ranks in a moment, finally gets a chance on a competitive bike. That's on the stock bike, but hopefully a chance to showcase what he can really do.
Yeah, and it is an opportunity to show what you can do in this class. Whenever you're on those stock machines, you're able to get yourself out there, show that you've got the talent and that you deserve your opportunity out there. And certainly we've seen Ferdinand Laguerre make the step. We've seen Alex Estoril make the step as well onto Moto2 bikes, do a good job. Alex Toledo as well. So it is an opportunity for you, and certainly this is going to be a big opportunity for Hector Garzo there on the MV Agusta, just heading out behind Sam Wilford. And those two riders were both given penalties in the opening race of the season, starting from the back of the grid. Wilford was able to turn it into a top 5 career best performance, as now we get to know Hector Garzo, the MV Agusta rider.
Sí, bueno, como dices, yo me inicié aquí en 2017, hice 2018 y 2019 con el equipo CNS, que actualmente ya no está en el campeonato. Volvemos aquí de la mano de MV Agusta con Giovanni Cuzzari, que ha apostado por nosotros y tenemos un trato muy bueno con él. Objetivo es ganar el campeonato, ganar carreras, luchar por lo más posible y bueno, con muchas ganas y sobre todo con ganas de ganarlo, ¿no? No he tenido todavía la oportunidad de ganar el FIM. Somos subcampeones ya en el 2019, pero bueno, este año el objetivo es ganar sobre todo. Este inicio de campeonato nos ha venido un poco justos a todos. Nos estamos todavía conociendo un poco, no hemos tenido la posibilidad de realizar ningún test. Entonces, bueno, poquito a poco vamos poniendo la moto al sitio, poniendo la puesta a punto. Esta primera carrera va a ser para nosotros como si fuera, bueno, conocernos un poquito, poner la moto al sitio y tal. Y bueno, pese a ello intentaremos hacer el mejor resultado posible, obviamente, y sumar puntos para el campeonato.
That's Hector Garzo back in the Moto2 European Championship. From the Moto2 World Championship, of course, where he was on the podium and a front runner at times as well. So he's back here and he really is one of the big names. He could be one to watch throughout the rest of this season, really. That's your race one winner. Lukas Tulovic really on form, on fire. The man to beat as he goes to the pole position. You can see running in the background there, that's Danny Webb. Danny Webb, I caught up with him earlier in pit lane. Great to see Danny here at the Junior World Championships. And really, Danny Webb unlucky not to have a ride somewhere else, and maybe perhaps looking for a ride in this paddock. But he's actually with his camp at the moment as Lukas Tulovic strolls in. Very nicely secured on that pole position. Great to have the fans back. I remember coming here last year at Estoril, and there wasn't anyone around due to the restrictions globally, and now the fans are in, enjoying the sun, 30-degree weather, perfect stuff. Tulovic on pole, he'll line up ahead of Senna Agius and Hector Garzo, as we just said, and just got to know a little bit. So Garzo on the front row for MV Agusta. MV Agusta obviously in this championship as well. Could be an exciting prospect as this season goes on. Sam Wilford will start from 6th. Now, he was way back on the grid because of a penalty, similar to this man. Both riders, Steve, looking to make hay whilst the sun shines brightly here at Estoril.
Yeah, the sun certainly is shining, and we'll see if it shines on Hector Garzo for this afternoon's race. That crash, though, was a big blot in the copybook in race 1. Yeah,
and it wasn't something that we saw already coming because Garzo had looked relatively neat and tidy all the way through the weekend. He hadn't had any major dramas, so a bit of a surprise, but it was the pressure, I think, of just having to come through the field. And you know, he's starting from the back row of the grid. He is one of the pre-season favourites. He wanted to make as many points as possible, but as we've always said, Steve, You cannot win the championship in the first race of the year, but you can go a long way to losing it.
Yeah, it really does make a big impact, and that's where consistency's been so important over the years in the Moto2 European Championship, and certainly that's where we've seen big advantages. That smoke looks it was just from one of the generators there, as opposed to from one of the bikes. You can see for Senna Agius able to get himself onto the front of the grid. Second on the grid for Senna. He was able to claim second place in the opening race this season, and he looked super sure-footed. What I thought was really interesting was he went into Parc Ferme and immediately was debriefing with the team.
Yeah, he seems to be a slightly different rider. You can see Leon Camier there. Happy Mother's Day, obviously back in Australia. But you can see Leon Camier there catching some rays, the official Team HRC World Superbike team manager. Great start to the season for him. A start from this paddock. Ika Lecona up there right now with him getting the podium, Steve.
Yeah, and certainly for Senna, he'll be hoping that he's able to back up another podium, but for Camier, it's been a good start to the campaign for all of his riders, really, and he's done well there, Senna Agius. So you can see Xavi Cardelus down there on the second row of the grid, teammate to Senna Agius, and for Cardelus, the most experienced rider in the field here in Moto2, but a rider still trying to get that real breakthrough.
Yeah, he's not quite shown the pace that he should be a race winner, but he's definitely a solid podium contender. He actually looked a bit stiff there. Don't forget, he was down in that crash with Peter Bishakiewski. Bishakiewski, if you're just joining us, out of action in race 2. We don't actually know the full extent of his injuries, but it was a crash between both Cardelus and Bishakiewski at turn 1 in race 1 that brought out the second red flag of that race.
Here's Alex Skrieg as well, and Alex, double duty this season. He's racing in the Moto2 World Cup as well, and Kiko, he was actually quite strong in a red. He was able to come away with a couple of top 10 finishes, so he's had a decent start to the season and 5th in the opening race of the season.
Yeah, I think it was a fantastic start for him because he got that podium, started 5th, Steve. Great first race, was there to pick up the pieces. He looked like he was actually going to get 5th because Cardelus and Bishakiewski were so far up the road and then they were so far deep in the gravel trap, and he picked up the pieces. Yeah,
we see Sam Wilford down here on the grid as well. Career best effort for him to finish inside the top 5 for the first time.
Fantastic stuff from Wilford. A great little rider in this class. He's been here a little while now and he's learning his trade. Definitely his aim for this year will be to get that first podium. I'm not sure it's going to come today. It may well do. He had brilliant pace in race 1, having to come from the back of the grid. So let's see what he can do now he's up at the sharp end.
I'll be honest, just to see him able to come away with a top 5 finish is good. It's a sign of progress for him, and that's the most important thing. And certainly he'll be expecting to have some good results. But if he's able to be a top 5 runner all the way through the season, that is very strong for him. This is Matteo Rato down there as well. He was able to come away with 6th place in the opening race. Number 13, unlucky for some. It was pretty lucky for him in the opening race of the weekend.
Let's hope that luck continues for him on the MMR. It's a good operation down there, so let's see what Rato can do. He has made steady progress in the last few seasons. He's generally, gradually, incrementally made small steps, and small steps are better than no steps at all, and he's now getting the reward he actually deserves. He's a very good rider.
Yeah, and another good rider is Alex Toledo. We saw him in the stock class over the years, having strong results, made the step onto a Moto2 bike last year. He's teammates to Bishakiewski, but the only rider from that team obviously in the race today. But for Toledo, good solid start to the season with another top 5 finish. Yeah,
very solid start, 4th there. And he'll be looking to repeat that today. I must admit though, it looks like he's borrowed Loris Baz's eyebrows. They're very thick and bushy, them things.
No comment about that then, Kiko. But I think the one thing for him is a career best effort in the opening race of the weekend and the season, and that's something that is important to see from riders in this class, that they are able to make that big step forward. And certainly for Toledo, up there on the 3rd row of the grid, he'll expect to be able to do something similar during the course of this race as well. This is Roberto Garcia, and he'll start from the outside of the 3rd row of the grid. And certainly for Garcia, he'll be keen to make sure he's able to make amends for that crash in the opening race.
Yeah, crash in the opening race, but let's not forget he is a complete rookie to this class. 2 years ago he was in ETC. Last year he was in the Junior GP class. Now he's up into Moto2, so he's making big gains, big steps. And at the end of the day, mistakes are going to come. Let's just hope that he doesn't make one today and he can finish solidly in the top 10. I think that's a good first round for him.
Yeah, almost certainly. And you can see further down the field as the rest of the riders get themselves ready for this race. Miguel Pons, a rider, Kiko, that we've seen in the World Supersport action. We've seen him in the Moto2 World Cup as well, and he has always been noted as a talent.
Yeah, he's a very fast rider, and he's done a lot in a very short space of time. I don't want to call him a journeyman because he's not as such, but he likes his racing and he's very, very fast. So maybe not this weekend, but as the year goes on, expect Ponzi's name to creep up towards that top 6 running.
And another rider that's always worth keeping an eye on as well on that fourth row of the grid will be Yari Ruiz. And Ruiz is out there on the Yamaha stock machine, and in the opening race of the season he was able to come home in 13th spot at the flag.
Yeah, Ruiz, another rider that we know, Steve, from the World Superbike paddock. He was in World Supersport 300 for a couple of races last year, and yeah, doing a relatively solid job, and he'll be out there to gain some experience and just try and make some progress as this year goes on, because he's very fast.
I think it's really interesting that he raced in Aragon in the R3 Cup. He raced last week in Jerez in the Moto2 World Cup, and now he's out here in the Moto2 European Championship. He's not afraid of having different bikes underneath him.
I hope he gets some loo days for his weekend work.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting to see what the paydays are for a lot of these riders in the future, but you can see for Angelo Tagliarini, it's going to be quite key to see what he can do out there on that Boscoscuro bike. Of course, we saw last year just how strong that package can be.
That Boscoscuro bike is an absolute weapon. It's setup-wise, it can be a little bit picky. It has an operating window that's generally relatively smaller compared to the other machines, but it is very fast. And we saw last year that no one saw which way the Boscoscuros went. They were way out front, way clear, way ahead of everyone else.
Yeah, the fifth row of the grid's going to be made up by Juan Rodriguez, Kyle Paz and Montero out there on that KTM machine as well, and they're going to be worth keeping an eye on, especially for Rodriguez. We saw him race in the Spanish Supersport class last year, and now stepping up to the European Championship.
Yeah, unfortunate in race 1, a retirement very early on as well. So Juan Rodriguez, he'll be looking to make amends. He's obviously got very good pace. He's one of the top stock runners in this category, and yeah, he'll be looking to break into the top 10 if he can on the road, but he'll definitely be looking to take stock honours.
Yeah, I think the one rider looking to take big honours is going to be Lukas Tulovic from that pole position. We saw him claim the opening race of the Moto2 European Championship earlier on today when he claimed his first ever race victory in the class. Variety is the name of the game in the Moto2 European Championship, and for Lukas Tulovic out there on pole position, he'll be hoping that variety isn't the name of his game. He's out there trying to make it 2 from 2 here at the season opening round in Estoril. Steve English and Kiko Giles bringing you through 18 laps of action here in the Moto2 class, and Kiko, we see lots of variety all the way through this field. We've got Triumph engines, Honda engines, stock machinery out there. Tulovic has been the man to beat all the way through this weekend. He won the opening race of the season by around about 5 seconds before a red flag came out. He has that edge on everyone else right now. He
really does, and he should do. He goes well here. He's got all the experience. He's had a couple of decent rides in World Championship as well. So Tulovic should be the rider to beat, and a great team around him. Liquid Moly intact squad. They really are a good set of guys there. They've obviously got the stepping stone all the way up to the World Championship itself as well. A bit of housekeeping before the warm-up lap actually gets underway. Peter Bishikirski, you may have noticed, not on the grid. He had a crash that brought out the red flag in race 1. Collision with Car de Luz. He's obviously unfit for this race. We hope he's well and back racing at the next round of Valencia.
Yeah, we also are without Tommaso Marcon as well, after he was involved in a crash that brought out the first red flag in this morning's race. 18 laps of action. Senna Agius on the front row of the grid. He's going to try and make a step forward compared to where he was in the opening race. That was finishing on the podium. He's given up those few tenths of a second to Lukas Tulovic, so we'll see if he's able to make a step forward here for the second race. Hector Garzo out there on the MB Augusta on the front row of the grid. He's going to have to try and make a big step forward because he qualified on the front row, or the second row of the grid in yesterday's session, but was given an infringement, sent to the back of the grid, and then in the opening race of the season we saw him crash out and in the opening stages. So he's now got to try and make that step to bring the fight to Tulovic. You don't want to give up too much ground early in the season, Kiko.
No, you don't want to see someone go off and dominate. You've got to get in there and you've got to start ruffling feathers. And if you're Garzo, okay, he's on the MV Augusta, but it's a very good squad around him. He's got that deal with Giovanni Cazzari, who runs the forward racing team. And, Garzo's a runner-up in this class from before, in this paddock. So without doubt, he's got the pace. Let's see if he can go with Tulovic. Let's see if Tulovic can replicate, because the track temperature is right up now. Championship standings on your screen. Tulovic leads. Obviously, it's the same as the race. Estoril in third, Toledo fourth. And Aegis, a big surprise, Steve. We were talking about it last night and talking about it today. He has been a welcome addition to this class.
He's done a really good job on that number 81 machine. Teammate to Javi Cardelus. Cardelus going to start from the second row of the grid alongside Alex Eskrig, who finished on the podium in race 1, and Sam Wilford, who had a career best result of 5th place in the opening race of the season. The Moto2 European Championship has a class within the class. That is the Super Stock class, with riders out there on Yamaha or 6 machinery. Alex Ruiz on the number 12 machine. He was able to claim the victory in the subclass this morning. We'll see what he can do, and we'll see if anyone else is able to make a big step forward. Dino Iozzo was around about 5 seconds behind Ruiz in the opening race of the season. And then Scheibe was able to finish up on the podium in that stock class as well. So we'll see if they're able to bring the fight a little bit closer to the number 12 of Ruiz. The big question, though, is can anyone bring the fight closer to Lukas Tulovic on that number 3 machine? The intact GP squad, they've always been able to turn out a good bike in the Moto2 European Championship, but finally they're able to turn out a race-winning bike for Lukas Tulovic. Is he going to be able to back that up in race 2 this afternoon? You can see all the riders getting ready to get themselves into grid position. That was Javi Cardelus getting ready to get onto the second row of the grid on the number 18 machine. Cardelus, the most experienced rider in the field, still chasing his first race victory. A bit of a delay here for Hector Garzo to get to the front of the grid. The number 4 machine now just edging his way through on that MV Agusta. And Hector Garzo, he looks set to be a rider that really can take the fight to Tulovic. But if he's going to be able to do that, he needs to make sure he makes a fast start and then puts the pressure on Tulovic. The number 3 machine of Lukas Tulovic led every lap in race 1. Is it going to be different over the course of 18 laps in race 2 for the Moto2 European Championship? St. Aegis with a really bad start off the line. He's bogged down. He's going to lose out a lot of ground. Hector Garzo, though, with a very fast start from the outside the front row of the grid. But he's going to just stay in third position. It looks like, once again, it's the 11 of Eskrig able to make a very fast start.
I think Eskrig might have got that rolling before the lights. But oh, big crash in the background. That looks like
it's the Vision Track bike.
Carter Brown, if it is.
Yeah, it did look like the 47. Wilford there on the 35 down the inside into the right-hander, able to get himself up into 4th position. Good start from Sam Wilford there, but you can see at the front of the field, Tulovic able to get himself back through to take that race lead. And the number 3 machine, that looks like it's Carter Brown and Miguel Pons that are down at turn 1. And they've got a bit of untangling to do with those bikes.
Yeah, that was it. Looked pretty nasty. Miguel Pons not having much luck with turn 1 incidents today. Don't know what happened to St. Aegis off the line. He got a terrible getaway. But I think Eskrig might have got that moving before the lights went out. He looked like he got too good of a start for me. Tulovic out front, though, ahead of Eskrig. Garzo regrouping to 3rd. And who's that up into 4th? It's Wilford. Go on, Wilf.
Wilford able to do a good job in the opening lap, and he's through on Alex Toledo. He made that move a couple of corners ago, so good stuff from Wilford. He's out there on the Triumph engine machine, but he's under attack now as well. That is Carter Brown, and Kevin Orges was one of the other riders involved, and it looks like Miguel Pons was involved in an incident as well on that opening lap. But you can see out in front, Tulovic has opened up half a second now over Alex Eskrig. So if Hector Garzo wants to have a chance, he needs to make a move into turn 1. He needs to try and get through in that MV Agusta so that Tulovic is able to be put under some pressure at this stage of the race. Wilford up there in 4th position. He had a career best top 5 finish in this morning's race. He's now chasing down that first podium of his Moto2 European career. You can see Tulovic, though, the gap 1 second as they come across the line. Garzo into second, but out of shape through there, but able to collect it, keep himself upright and try and live to fight another day. But he doesn't. He actually ran all the way off the car park route, and he's down into P5 now.
And Wilford is up into 2nd. Wilford has got ahead of Eskrig, so brilliant stuff from Sam Wilford. Garzo under attack. That looked like it.
Rato trying to attack there, and he's very aggressive at the start of this race. That looks like
the 38 of Juan Rodriguez. That's another retirement for him, so no points from the first round.
Yeah, bad luck for him, but you can see good fortune for Wilford at this stage. He's out there with the Triumph engine, one of the few riders with that machine underneath him, same as what Lukas Tulovic has. But Tulovic now 2 seconds out in front in these early stages. You can see St. Aegis trying to recover on that number 81 machine. He's down there in 7th spot, trying to just pick off Garcia in front of him, but it's going to be hard work for him at this stage.
Yeah, very, very hard work at the moment. Wow,
Agius is down the inside. That's a good move to make through there.
Garcia.
It's a tight right-hander into there, and he's been followed through as well, what looks like by Alex Toledo. So for Agius now up into the top 6.
Oh.
And trying to make another move now as well. Not quite close enough, but he's certainly going to be coming through pretty quick on Rato. Kiko, you were dead right. It is a jump start penalty for the number 11 of Estoril, so he's going to be out of the way pretty quickly for this group, battling it out for the podium spots. Alex Estoril up there on the number 11 machine in 3rd spot right now, but look at Senna Agius. He has the speed. We saw that in race 1. He looks like he's got a lot of confidence for making these moves as well.
Remember last year, Steve, Alonso Lopez had a terrible start on the opening lap, and he picked his way through to battle with Aldeguer. It might have been the other way around. Aldeguer got the bad start, and he picked his way through. If Agius can keep this... Oh,
Hector Garzo again. And that's it for Garzo.
That's the car park route.
And he's not going to have any chance in this race because of those couple of mistakes here at the start of the race. But certainly for the number 4, he has to try and regroup, see if he can still claim some decent points and maybe get himself onto the podium. But for Lukas Tulovic, 2.5 seconds clear after 2 laps, no one's going to catch him because we saw how consistent he could be. He's going to be comfortable out there. He's not going to be pushing too hard. He's going to just try and make sure he's able to pick his lines and do what he has to do. As it is, though, Wilford up there in 2nd spot, giving chase. But on that AGR team machine, he is one of the few riders out there with the Triumph engine. We know that that is a faster package underneath you compared to the Honda machines that we've seen for the rest of the riders in this lead group. So Wilford able to take good advantage of that, and he's doing a really good job.
Worthy to mention, Estoril has got a double on that penalty, so if you see him take the penalty, he's got to do another one as well. Tulovic with the fastest lap, 40.2. That's slower than in the first race. This is going to be
This
Garzo.
is going to be Garzo running in a little bit deep and having to take escaping action there from Rato. But Rato now, he's been passed as well by Senna Agius. So Agius up into 4th spot behind the Skrieg, who's going to take those double long lap penalties, and then behind Wilford. So for Senna, he's still going to be in a position to potentially finish on the podium and maybe match his feet of 2nd in the opening race.
Yeah, it looks very, very good. Senna, if he can just clear Estoril, which he doesn't really need to do, actually. If he can get ahead of Estoril and Wilford, then...
He's going to clear him straight away down in towards turn 1. He's not going to be able to do Wilford as well. You can see there for Wilford on that Triumph engine machine, he has an advantage down the straights there, it looked like, but he's in a bit too hot. That's going to open the door for Agius.
Can clear Wilford. Can clear Wilford. Wilford going off then at turn 1, but... Oh, what a save! Oh, no!
A massive crash, and that looks like it's Wilford.
It was Wilford.
That is a huge crash for Wilford, and we're going to have a red flag brought out almost certainly for that. Wilford had been up there in those top positions, battling it out for a career first podium, and running in 2nd spot earlier on. We've got the red flag straight away, and that's a serious incident there for Wilford. But certainly for these Moto2 riders, they're going to come back to pit lane and they'll see just how serious the situation is. But for them, only a few laps into this race, and that could well be the end of the running for them. But for Tulovic, really strong all the way through this weekend, and able to take that race victory this morning. And now for the red flag, we'll wait and see what happens. But that was obviously a massive impact for Sam Wilford. Yeah,
I think he tucked the front coming through turn 2. Obviously, we caught it a bit late, but he tried picking it up on his elbow, and he just followed the bike into the barrier. I really hope it's not as bad as it looked for Wilford. He was having a stunning ride up inside the leading group. Just that mistake at turn 1 that pushed him back to 4th, and that still would have been a career best and on for a first podium once Estoril had taken his long lap penalties. But everyone will come back in now. Tulovic and probably Senna Agius won't actually know what's happened behind them. So they will roll back into pit lane. Everyone else will be aware, as we see the graphic on screen, Sam Wilford crash. That's on the exit of turn 2. So everyone back in pit lane, then they'll know the procedure now. Sit down, talk to the crew chief, just get their thoughts and remain settled, I think, at this stage. Yeah, just about keeping calm at this stage, and certainly for Wilford on that number 35 machine, he's made a big step forward over the winter. Obviously a career best qualifying effort, career best race in the opening race of the weekend, and all you can do is hope that he's all right after that crash, and big impact and a strange crash as well. We've seen that only a few times in the past, but
certainly for Wilford, you have to hope for the best for the 24-year-old after that crash and a big impact. But for the rest of the Moto2 field, they're going to come back into pit lane, take a seat, try and just keep themselves calm and get themselves ready for a potential race restart. But certainly in this field, Kiko, we've seen some really close racing all the way through today, and you can see Wilford now getting medical attention straight away, and hopefully we'll be able to get an update on Wilford as soon as possible. But Kiko, we've been able to see close racing all the way through in the Moto2 class over the years, and sometimes in close racing like this, you do tend to have it where everyone's trying to make a move in positions where they can. We saw Wilford ran in a bit hot into turn one, and then he had to filter his way back into position, and sometimes when that happens, you end up just jostling for positions.
Yeah, it was a good, a very. This is the Moto2 though that we see. Riders do like Garzo run it in a bit hot, and particularly riders who coming back into the class. Wilford is not a rider who makes too many mistakes, but let's hope he's okay. Elsewhere, let's have a look through the rest of the order. Sana Agius in second, but Matteo Rato in third. That is a fantastic ride at the moment. If he's right up there in the top three, that is the best we've seen of him in the last couple of years we've been doing this, Steve.
Yeah, we saw Rato there with a big smile, throwing up a peace sign out from his pit box, so he's obviously feeling pretty relaxed after running up there inside the top three in the early stages of this race. And certainly for Matteo, this is really impressive. He's only 17 years of age, and he's made a big step as well. We spoke earlier on in the opening race of the season about him, Kiko. He was able to come into this season with a career best result of a top 5 finish. He was 6th in the opening race, running at the front, doing a really good job. Absolutely,
and he looks kind of a bit more at home this year in the class, as we see the ambulance on track attending to Wilford. But yeah, you get the impression that Rato settled into the class. I mean, he's only young and he's only been doing it a couple of years, but there's a lot to learn with these bikes, and you get the impression that potentially Rato could be a bit of a star this year. I'm not sure if we're going to see him take victories, but we are for sure going to see him much nearer the fight than he has been in previous years.
Yeah, we're seeing the safety car move off. We're seeing what looks like Wilf in the back of the ambulance there, and hopefully able to get him back to the medical centre, give himself a check-up, and then we'll be able to get an update. But big crash for Wilford, and all you can do is hope for the best from that. But it's promising to see that at least at this stage that we're getting a notification there that Wilford is conscious, and that means he's responded to the medical attention there, so he'll come back to the medical centre, get his checkup, and hopefully he's okay after that, because that was a serious incident, a scary crash there for Sam Wilford, and a big shame for him considering how strong the weekend's been and the step forward that he's made. But now, Kiko, for the rest of the riders, they have to now think about trying to get themselves ready for going out again. They have to think about what their tactics are going to be going forward, and then what they're going to be able to do. And certainly for Javi Cardaluz, for Senna Agius, what are they going to be able to do to make that step that they have to do? They've got a second bite at the cherry here after Tulovic had been able to stretch out a 4-second lead or something before the red flag.
If Agius can get a good start, if he can ruffle Tulovic's feathers at turn 1 and turn 2 and for the opening sector or two, he's right there. The problem is it takes such a long time. If you go backwards and it's a swamp into turn 1, you've got riders coming through thick and fast. It's very hard to, if you've had a bad start, filter back in. Actually, on the race start, you saw Senna look behind him just to double check if anyone's coming, if he was in someone's path or anything. So this, if he can make a good start, he's right there.
Yeah, and certainly for Senna, just wait and see if you can see. Yeah, he's saying there that the clutch was already biting a bit for him, I think, and so he's having to try and rethink his strategy a little bit for the start. So that would explain why he had that issue for him. But certainly for Senna Agius, he was able to make very quick progress from it to get himself back to the leading positions and give himself a chance of being able to fight it out for the podium spot. So for Senna Agius, he looks very impressive on a Moto2 machine already.
He's very exciting. He's a very exciting prospect for the rest of this season. He is, I think, without doubt, the biggest surprise in this class this year, without question, because no one, even on the entry list, when we saw on the entry list, it was like, oh, Senna Aegis has moved up. But no one expected him to be on the front row straight away. So fantastic so far from him.
Yeah, he's really been able to adapt well to this bike. And you mentioned it in race 1 coverage at Kiko as well, just about a lot of the Australian riders do look like they just have that comfort and confidence on bigger bikes when the bike's moving around underneath them a lot more. And he certainly looks like he's a rider that can do that. Just seeing now as well that in 5 minutes' time, pit lane will reopen and we'll be able to get back underway for a shortened race. It's been a shame for the Moto2 class. We obviously had 2 red flags in the opening race, and now this red flag for Sam Wilford's crash, but at least it looks like Wilford is relatively okay after that crash, and he's been able to get back to the medical centre now and to get his check-up. But in 5 minutes' time, Kiko, we're going to be back underway.
Yeah, back underway and back with the action. It's been a disrupted Moto2 day, really, here. As we said earlier, a couple of red flags and now another one here. But hopefully everyone's all okay. As we're going to be checking out Hector Garzo, I think, in a moment. But Garzo was all over the place in that first run-in. I mean, he was running wide at 2 or 3 points on the track. He couldn't land a move either, like, without running slightly offline. So Garzo's got to this pause in the action. Never good for the circumstances, but it will come at a time where Garzo probably just needs to sit down, relax, and completely regroup. Yeah,
and for Garzo, it's going to be important to be able to figure out how to get that bike to stop, because he just couldn't seem to get it stopped on the run into turn 1. Took the car park route in a couple of laps, and he's going to have to figure something out to be able to do that. And as you can see there, just seeing that there is a small delay actually to pit lane opening, so it's actually going to be at 10 to 4. It's now saying on our timing screen, so 15:50, so 10 minutes time before pit lane is going to open. You can see there, and now a new notification to say that 15:50 until pit lane opens. And Kiko, that's going to be a quick restart procedure.
Yep.
And just take everyone through what that means.
So the riders obviously are in the boxes at the moment. They'll be able to go out. They'll do the sighting lap, which they always do. The difference starts when they come onto the grid. They'll be met by one sole mechanic from their team. They will put them to their grid slot. Then after 60 seconds or so, everyone will leave. The mechanics back into the pit lane. Then the riders will go out and do a warm-up lap, and then we'll have race in action. It saves all the drama of going through, lining up again, all the big build-up that we always have. No, after a red flag, and we do the quick restart procedure to keep everything on time and to not have longer delays than we need, and to get the racing back underway for the fans as soon as possible. We always try and go racing with the quick restart procedure.
Yeah, keep everything on time, and for Hector Garzo, it's going to be about keeping everything online when we get restarted. That is the MV Augusta pit box there of Hector Garzo, and certainly for the teams and the riders, they know that they've got another few minutes before we're going to be back underway. And on the other side of the MV Augusta pit box, that's Nicola Giannico. And for Nico, he was able to finish 24th in the opening race of the season, and he's in action there for MV. And Kiko, it's been good to see MV able to come in and race here in the European Championship this year.
Iconic brand, Steve, always welcome wherever we go. Obviously, they're getting used to the new regulations over in the World Supersport Championship, and now they're deciding to go racing here as well in the Moto2 European Championship. So great to have their presence expanded. So yeah, can't complain, and the bike's looking good. The problem seems to be for Garzo getting it stopped.
Yeah, and in the opening race, obviously we saw him have that crash, so we don't fully know what to expect from that bike over the course of a full race distance. But from Garzo, we know what to expect. He's a former race winner. He's got lots of experience. This will be his 35th start in the European Championship. We saw there the FIM officials just making their way out onto the grid as well to get everything prepared. And now you can see everyone just putting down the numbers now for the riders to get ready out there on the grid. It does look like in about 6 minutes time pit lane's going to open. And you can see now just maybe a change of tact for everyone on the grid. and that might well be a sign that there might be a change in our planned schedule now for the Moto2 class. But for all the riders in the pits, they know the potential seriousness of the situation, and we'll wait and see whether or not we get another update on it. That is Matteo Rato down there, and he was really strong in the opening race this season. He was up there in 6th position and was narrowly beaten to the line by Sam Wilford, both riders trying to get their career best results in the top 5 finish in this morning's race.
Yeah, Rato, one of the stars of the show, actually. So great to see. We've said it before, Steve, on the MMR. Fantastic stuff to see Matteo Rato right up where it counts. You know, it's all right in battling around the top 10 like he has for the last couple of years and getting that odd top 5, but he really looks like he's made a step this year. Yeah,
he does look like he's made a step, and that's what's interesting with the European Championship. It does look like quite a few riders have made a lot of progress over the course of the winter, and big changes in the class. We've already talked about the different machinery that we have here in the Moto2 European Championship. And you can see now that it looks like it's probably just been a change of the order on the grid. Maybe we're far enough into the race that it'll be your positions at the red flag that are going to set the grid, as opposed to a crash in the opening 3 laps like what we had in this morning's race where there was a red flag. So we've got about 4.5 minutes until pit lane opens. That's down into the pit box of Lukas Tulovic, and we catch up with Tulo as he catches up on a little bit of an intake there, and he's just trying to make sure that the gels are there to give him a little bit of energy for this restart. It is going to be a shortened race distance as well, Kiko, but we'll wait and see an update on race duration, and as I said, 15:50 is when the race will restart. Yeah,
15:50 pit lane gets open, and we will see the riders make their way around for the quick restart procedure here at Estoril, the last race of the day, Steve. It's been a fantastic weekend up until now.
Yeah, it's been good racing all the way through in the European Talent Cup, the Junior GP, and also in the Moto2 European Championship as well, because I thought it was really interesting to see the steps forward from a lot of riders. We saw, obviously, Tulovic finally able to claim his first race victory. Senna Aegis able to show that he could make the transition from the Moto3 bike to a Moto2 bike with ease, and he's been able to do that. And then also Alex Eskrigg, really strong performance to finish on the podium in the opening race of the season, and then career best results for a lot of riders further down the field. I thought it was a big shame that we obviously saw the crash for Biersikorski, because he'd been running very strong trying to get his first career podium, and obviously enough for Xavi Cardelus. He was also taken out in that instant as well, but we're now seeing a further delay to pit lane opening, so that means 15:55 for pit lane opening, so another 5-minute delay. And Kiko, you can see it, obviously the confusion on the grid about getting everyone in position, and that's probably what's causing that little bit of a delay.
Yeah, the drama seems to be getting the numbers, the number boards out for the riders to indicate where the mechanic will be to meet the rider after the after the sighting lap. This is different to the procedure we went through earlier, because it was within the first 3 laps and it's a complete restart. Yes, quick restart procedure, but they had the times on from the qualifying, so that was how it was. As you can see along the bottom of the screens, pit lanes open at 5 to 4 local time. Obviously, we are GMT +1. We're in Portugal here in Estoril, so 5 to 4 we will get the riders back to the circuit, leaving pit lane, and I anticipate after that 5 or 6 minutes later we'll be coming to the end of the warm-up lap.
Yeah, well, typically we see that 1 minute for pit lane to open, everyone gets to the grid, so round about 2 minutes you do another sighting lap, and then you're underway. So you'd imagine round about the top of the hour for us to get started. It's going to be a 9-lap race, so we had a sprint race this morning, Kiko, of 12 laps that was red flagged after 10 laps, and now we've got a 9-lap race for the points, and it really is going to be a proper sprint for the points.
It really is, and it's going to be interesting, actually, because if Senna Aegis can start, hopefully he can, he will be able to can he be able to topple Tulovic? The question mark is, Eskrigg obviously had that double long lap penalty, and the first race start will now count because it sets his grid position for this one. So I wonder how they're going to deal with that.
Well, the penalty should carry forward for Eskrigg, but we'll wait and see whether maybe he had taken one at that stage, but I don't remember seeing him take one. But the penalty should carry forward, and then we'll wait and see when he has to take it, how he takes it, and where he filters back in. But certainly for Alex Eskrigg, able to have a podium in the opening race of the season, and a decent start here for race 2 as well. But he's going to have to take those penalties, and that's going to cost him quite a bit of time right at the start. You mentioned about Senna Agius able to take the start. Obviously enough, Senna not involved in the crash. His bike was running fine, but we did hear from him down in pit lane that he was having some clutch problems. That was probably the reason why he made such a poor start in race 1.
Yeah, getting off the line obviously revolves a heavy deal on a clutch. So if he's having clutch problems, that would explain the drama of getting off the line. Now, he made a better start on the restart of race 1. I wonder if he's just not practice starts or if there is an actual drama with the bike. Let's hope not, because Agius has got good pace, and it'll be interesting from another point of view to see if he can ruffle Tulovic's feathers. How does Tulovic then go on to respond? Can he fight straight back, or does he need a clear track to set his own pace, and that's how he can win? Yeah,
and I think it's going to be quite interesting to see how that plays out during the race as well, because if he's having a problem with the clutch, with that Honda engine, they do use the clutch on the downshifts. It's not like with the Triumph engine where you're able to use the auto blipper, so that could be a factor as the race goes on as well. But hopefully for Senna, he'll have no real issues. He's able to make a good start and show a little bit more what he can do, because he's impressed everyone so far this weekend, and as it is right now, it looks like he'll be able to start from the front row of the grid here when the race will restart. We've still got about 4.5 minutes until pit lane opens. You can see there 15:55, and then it'll be that 9-lap race. And certainly for a race that short, Kiko, it changes the mindset for the rider.
Yeah, it's no longer so tactical, apart from the tactics are to go hell for leather straight from the start and try and see if even for 2 or 3 laps you can make an effort at the front.
And that is the big thing for these riders. They know Lucas Tulovic has the speed to break away from them. So in a 9-lap race, maybe you're able to annoy him enough in the early stages to try and stay with him. But we do also know as well that with that Triumph engine, he does have a speed advantage, an inherent speed advantage. We've seen that in the World Championship where lap records fell once there was that change to the Triumph bike. Certainly Tulovic with the Triumph engine, it does give him a bit of a step forward compared to the riders giving chase.
Yeah, and, he's obviously got that advantage. The thing that will be interesting is if he is passed, does he fight back? Can he fight back? I expect yes, because he should be right there. But we don't know, because he's not. Well, he hasn't been challenged all weekend so far. He's looked really, really good.
And he's looked good all the way through his European career. Obviously, this was his first race victory, but he's always been at the front of the field. He's always been competitive. But now, finally, a race winner, and he'll certainly be looking to live up to his billing as the pre-season title favourite. And if he's able to do that, he'll wait and see whether or not it presents an opportunity for him, because over the last few years we have seen the European champions make that transition. Whether you're looking at obviously Fermin Aldeguer for this year, he's been really impressive jumping onto a Moto2 bike, but also previous years Yari Montella was able to get onto a Moto2 World Championship bike for half a season. He's now racing in the Supersport World Championship, so you can use success in the European Championship as a real springboard.
And, maybe not even if you're the champion. For example, Alonso Lopez is up now for the rest of this year in the Bosco Oscuro team, and you look back a couple of years ago, Nicky Tully, he's now in World Supersport with the MV Agusta team. So there are opportunities elsewhere, even if you're not the champion here. And of course, Kevin Takubo, one of the stars of last year and the year before, he's now up in the full World Championship, say. So there's opportunities wherever you are in this field, and maybe expect someone like Matteo Rato, who's demonstrated he's obviously made a step, to get something else somewhere.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the key things, is that you can show that you deserve an opportunity. And I think that's one of the things that we've seen over the last few years when you look at a lot of riders that suddenly appear to find a bit of form. There's so much talent all the way down the field, and you see that in the European Talent Cup, the junior GP classes, that riders need to find the right opportunity for them. It looks like a rider like Senna Agius. We didn't really get to see what he could do too much on a Moto3 bike, but he looks good on a Moto2 bike. Maybe this is the transition he can make.
And there's so many variables, Steve. Sorry, there's so many variables. He might not have been on the right bike. He might not have been with the right team. He might be right now in a team that Promo Racing have done so much in the class, and now he's got the support of Leon Camia, who has always been someone who's been a great mentor in terms of development of young talent. Look at what he's doing at Honda now with World Superbike. He's got Ika Lacone, who's 22, and Xavi Vierge, who's recently turned 25. So, you know, he can develop young talent. Camia himself was a young talent once and one of the hottest prospects. So having someone like that around it gives you that kind of, not advantage, but it's an asset that you can use that maybe someone else doesn't have. And maybe that's why Senna's right there.
Yeah, you're able to shortcut a lot of the knowledge base that's needed to be competitive in the World Championships, and Cami are certainly able to give that to Senna Aegis, and whether it comes as far as how you train, how you eat, how you prepare, and how you get ready to go out there, it certainly does make a big difference. And this is good to see, Kiko. We've got the riders heading down pit lane. Pit lane's going to open in 20 seconds for 60 seconds for the quick restart procedure, so that's good to see. And certainly for Hector Garzo, he's had a couple of minutes to try and collect his thoughts, try and see whether or not he's able to make a step forward. He's clearly trying to make sure that front brake's working all right right from the start. That was the issue for him in the initial start of the race, but now for Hector Garzo, he gets to the end of pit lane and gets himself ready to head out there, and you can see just a flock of stock machinery out there on Yamahas as well. But these are the two promo racing bikes that are worth keeping an eye on, the 18 of Xavi Cardelus and the 81 of Senna Aegis now heading out.
Yeah, and let's see if Aegis has got fixed to the clutch drama that he was having. Let's hope so, because I think if he has, then it's going to make a good race of it. And let's see what the 13, just in the back of shot there, Matteo Rato, let's see what he can do, because he was really box office in the opening encounter. Yeah,
the MMR racer, and we'll see what he's able to do. This is Tulovic heading out on that number 3 machine, and we've seen that number 3 quite significant for Tulovic over the years. He had 9 podiums before today, all of them in 3rd position. He's had, what is it, 3 pole positions?
3 poles, all here.
All here in Estoril. And finally, Kiko able to claim that first ever race victory in the European Championship. He's a rider with so much experience on Moto2 machinery. Good to see him finally able to take advantage of it fully.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and he's been knocking on the door for long enough now, and I'm glad for him more than anyone that he's been able to capitalise on it. He's a good rider, Tulovic, and yeah, let's hope he can build on it, you know, not just for now, for the whole season. He is the favourite, there is no doubt about that. But yeah, Tulovic is looking good for a double. Let's see what he can do.
He is looking good for a double right now, and Tulo's going to start from pole position here. He led every lap in race 1. Obviously, we've had 3 red flags today in the Moto2 class. We had a big crash for Tommaso Marcon off the start line in race 1. We had a big crash for Bierce Sikorsky in the end of race 1 that brought out a red flag, and then obviously we've had that big crash for Sam Wilford, so hopefully Sam's all right. It's a good sign that we're back out here going racing as well, but everyone's going to get ready for a 9-lap race.
Yeah, everyone's going to get ready for this 9-lapper. This is the sighting lap, so when they come round this corner, this is the Parabolica, the big final corner sweeper onto this kilometre-long front straight. Hopefully, they'll be met by a mechanic, and they'll have about a minute or so to chat away or whatever, and then they'll go around and do another lap like this one. This is for the warm-up lap. They'll come and take their positions on the grid, and when the lights go out, the action starts.
Yeah, and certainly the action's going to be all the way through this 9-lap race. Once you end up with a shortened race, it is always hell for leather all the way through, and Tulo makes his way to the front of the grid, and it'll be another pole position for Tulovic. This is our first chance now, Kiko, actually, to see what way everyone's going to line up on the grid. We haven't gotten a full update on the grid positions. That looks like Alex Skrieg up there on the front row of the grid. We know he's going to have to take long lap penalties, and it should be Senna Aegis up there on the number 81 machine as well. Yeah. So Aegis on the front row of the grid, and then it looks like it'll be Matteo Rato, Toledo and Cardelus on the second row of the grid. We know that Senna had a problem with the clutch at the start. Hopefully for him, it's going to be all right now. It'll be interesting to see whether or not he makes this as a full test start as well. But certainly for Senna Aegis, really strong start to his Moto2 European career.
Yeah, and not just that, a point that we didn't mention, how costly was Garzo's error? He started from the front row in the original start, and he's back now in 8th. He's got a lot of work to do. He
does have a lot of work to do on that number 4 machine, and certainly for Hector Garzo, we saw in the opening race of the weekend, he was able to make a fast start. He's going to need to do the same now as well from 4th position, from the 3rd row of the grid in 8th position on that number 4 machine. Just looking here as everyone makes their way around, just to give Senna Aegis a bit of a shout out, that we know that he's obviously worked very hard over the winter to get himself ready, prepared for riding a Moto2 machine. So much more physical than a Moto2 bike. and then a Moto3 bike. And Kiko, you have to look at the impact that's had on him. He's worked really hard.
Yep.
He had the good result in the opening race of the season. He's going to start from the front row of the grid. Is he going to be able to back up second position from race 1? He's in a position to do it because we know Alex Eskrigg is going to have to take this long lap penalty. This isn't going to count as one of them.
Smart thinking.
But he is going
like
down there to
style.
make sure that he's able to know what to expect from that long lap penalty. It is a big loop here.
Exactly, it is a very big loop and it's quite costly. On Senna, just, you know, what he should be able to back it up. He might be able to go one further, and just for a little bit of poetry, it wouldn't be the first Senna to take his first win around Estoril, would it?
No, in 1985 there was some other guy that did that as
What
well.
was his
but
name? Who was it?
Can't remember. It was on Four Wheels. But for Senna Aegis, he's been really strong all the way through this weekend. But strong enough to take the fight to Tulovic. Tulovic just looks like he has that bit of an edge with that Triumph engine machine, and certainly for Tulo, he's got that edge and experience as well. As everyone makes their way around now, and Kiko, 9 laps. This isn't going to be a case of having to manage your tyre during the course of this. You're going to be absolutely giving it everything you got all the way through.
No, exactly. And the thing that comes with that is, unfortunately, as we've seen in the other races, that you push that little bit more, the mistakes tend to happen a little bit more. And let's hope that we get a clean run now to the end of this race. The Moto2 lads deserve it. They've had a couple of races here this weekend at Estoril. The first one this morning, completely disrupted, 2 red flags, and this one as well, 1 red flag. Let's hope for no more. Let's hope to get to the checkered with a battle. Who's it going to be?
Tulovic on pole from Alex Eskrigg, but we know Eskrigg on that number 11 machine has to take 2 long lap penalties. On the outside of the front row, Senna Aegis on that number 81 machine, making his debut weekend here in the Moto2 European Championship, and he's been really strong on that promo racing machine. He's the teammate to Javi Cardelus, the most experienced rider in the field. He's going to need to use all that experience from the second row of the grid. Hector Garzo on the number 4 machine. He's a former podium finisher in the World Championship level. He is to come from the third row of the grid as we get ready for 9 laps of action here in the Moto2 European Championship. Fast start from the middle of the front row from Alex Eskrigg, but we know he's got those penalties upcoming. Further down, it looks like it was a decent enough getaway from the number 81 of Senna Aegis. He's going to run down into turn 1, but he's lost those positions to the fastest starting run out there. That's the number 4, Hector Garzo, coming from the third row of the grid. Tulovic, though, leading the way, converting that pole position into the early race lead.
Yeah, great start from Tulovic. I thought Eskrigg was going to go alongside him. Matteo Rato already making moves. That is on Toledo for 6th position at turn number 3 as they come up to 4 now. Tulovic leads, Eskrigg is in 2nd. Then it is Aegis, then Garzo up from 8th to 4th, 5th place Rato, 6th place Toledo.
Well, we know that Eskrigg has penalties upcoming. We've got another notification of that. 2 long lap penalties for him on the number 11 machine. Will he take one right at the start, or will he try and he's going to try and make sure he uses as many laps as possible? He wants this front group to splinter as much as possible, so he probably has 3 laps to take that penalty, and then he has to take 2 of them in the next few laps after that. So it is going to be a big penalty for him. Senna Aegis trying to get down the inside into the right hand. They're not quite able to make the move stick there. We saw him make moves into there in the opening race before the red flag, but Aegis certainly looks like he's going to be in a position to attack very quickly on Eskrigg, maybe as early as down in towards turn 1, because he doesn't want to let Tulovic get away. Tulovic already 6/10 of a second clear.
Sorry, Toledo in the background absolutely dive bombed up the inside of Matteo Rato, and I think he shocked Rato. As Garcia is there as well. Garcia's right in the mix, so very good start from Garcia up inside the top 7.
Yeah, and bad start for Javi Cardelus, down to 9th position, teammate to Senna Aegis and the most experienced rider in the field. He's got his work cut out for himself now with only 8 laps remaining in this race. You can see there the number 13 of Rato. He's very willing to make some moves, and he's got some moves to make because he's down there in 7th spot. But Aegis now up into 2nd, and he's going to give chase now to see if he's able to close down Tulovic. That's the 13 of Rato, able to get through in Garcia.
Yeah, good move there from Rato. Someone running wide in the background, off track. That doesn't really matter. It's a bit out of the way. But yeah, good start from Tulovic. You've got to think now that Aegis is 1.1 behind. He has got to start getting the hammer down and setting off after Tulovic. He was actually lapping pretty decent pace in the first part of the restart in the first race. So if he can keep it up and maybe just latch on, might be going with him.
In the first sector, he's pulled back 1/10 of a second now, and Tulovic will wait and see what happens in sector 2. But he's clearly dropped Alex Eskrigg from 3rd position there. Eskrigg going to wait another lap before taking his penalty as well. That's Hector Garzo recovering nicely from that 3rd row of the grid start, and Garzo up there in P4, and that is a net P3 once Eskrigg takes his penalties. And for Garzo, that's pretty good start. Now he needs to settle into this race, see if he can go with Senna Aegis, but Aegis has more pace than him. All the way through this weekend, Senna's had that little bit of an edge, and he's trying to close up once again on Tulovic. He pulled back another 1/10 of a second last sector around, so the gap now under a second for the first time, and Senna Aegis trying to close up as much as he can.
Let's hope he doesn't push over the limit, but this is exciting stuff. With about 7 laps to go when they cross the line, Aegis is looking like he's getting in. This is the start. Are we going to say this is the
initial start and the jump there from the second row of the grid from the number 11 of Alex Estoril.
And Aegis spun the rear up. I don't know if we're going to get that again. No, we're not. But Aegis spun the rear up. It went sideways. It was like watching a wet weather start. It was all over the place. But Aegis, fastest lap of the race, 2/10 quicker than your race leader. Let's see. Have we got a race?
I was going to say, Senna's also a little bit sideways in the entry into turn 1, pushing as hard as he can, using the engine braking of these Moto2 machines, and he is closing on Tulovic. And that fastest lap last time around was a couple of 10ths of a second faster than Tulovic. Behind this, Hector Garzo's made his move into turn 1. He's been able to get through on the number 11 of his screen as well.
The two at the front are the only two riders in the 39s, Steve, and in the original start, it was only Tulovic. So we have definitely got Aegis really digging deep here, and he's right with him. He's within, not striking distance, but a couple more laps he may well be. Estoril takes one of his long laps.
And that's the first of 2 for the number 11 machine. He's going to filter himself back in. It looks like behind Garcia on the 31, maybe in front of Cardelus. No, just behind Cardelus as well, but Cardelus on the 18. He's having a bit of a disappointment start to the season. Obviously the crash in race 1 out of a potential podium finish, and now he's running down there in 7th spot as well. Big mistake there for Aegis maybe, but he's able to collect it all right. But right now Tulovic on this lap, he has tried to set a faster pace. He was fastest of all in sector 1. He's fast in sector 2 and 3, and for Senna Aegis, he's trying to give chase, but certainly Tulovic, with all that experience, it is going to be tough for Senna Aegis.
Yeah, it's going to be about 1.5 seconds, I think, when they cross the line. Steve Aegis, he lost all his momentum through the chicane and then through the right-hander after. So let's see what it is across the line for another time. 39.8 for Tulovic, 40.5, and it is 1.7 seconds now. Aegis, a costly error.
And you can see down into turn 1, his teammate Cardelus able to make the move on Garcia. That's number 18 now, up into 6th.
Oh, Garzo
and that's
again.
Hector Garzo again at turn 1. We saw him make those mistakes before the red flag came out into turn 1. Couldn't get the bike stopped, and it looks like another crash for him. He lost the front in race 1, and could well be the same here in race 2, but that's very disappointing for Hector Garzo. But that also elevates Rato on the number 13 machine up into the podium spots. And certainly for Rato, we've seen him very competitive all the way through this weekend so far, but that's great to see. Senna Aegis, though, trying to dig in at this stage,
he really is.
But 1.6 seconds with only 6 laps remaining, it's going to be a big ask.
Absolutely, yeah. Garzo, we cut back to him now. Garzo is not going to get that bump started, surely. Oh, he has. What do I know? He's got it back going. He's nowhere, though. He's well out of it. This is what happened. Is he losing the front? Yeah, lost it early on as well. Tried picking it up on his elbow, and nope. That's all she wrote.
Not able to do that, and disappointment there for Hector Garzo and for his team. He drops all the way down to the back of the field. Even in a short race, you know, it's a big ask to try and get yourself back into the top 15 points, and even with that Moto2 machine underneath him and all those stock bikes in front, going to be very difficult for him. But there might still be points to take in the Moto2 class for him, so we'll wait and see what Garzo's able to do. But certainly not the start of the season he was hoping for. No points in the opening race, no points right now as well. Just looking at the stock class as well, Kiko, in 11th spot it's the number 88 of Chris Scheibe. He's up there as the leading stock runner, and Alex Ruiz, who had been the top stock runner in race 1, he's down there in 13th spot. You can see here, though, in this stage of the race, the real battle is for the podium spots. Xavi Cardelus on the 18, though, he's the fastest rider in this group, and he's the one trying to close up.
Yeah, just looking at the timing monitor, Steve, last lap around, Senna Aegis, fastest lap, 39.7, hundreds quicker than Tulovic, but both have actually just done the identical first sector. Unreal, they really are matching each other.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Senna Aegis, he's got a little bit too much ground to make up in that number 81 machine with 5 laps to go. But you can see there, he had the fastest lap of the race. That was last time around, a few hundredths of a second faster than the race leader Tulovic. Down in towards turn 6, we'll see if Toledo's close enough to attack. He's not quite close enough, and Rato able to hold on to that position, and these riders fighting it out for a podium, and there's a lot at stake for them.
Yeah, there is a lot at stake. This is for the podium. One of these guys is going to be disappointed. And Cardalus, how many times have we seen him get a poor start and slowly but surely work his way in to the battle for a strong finish? And in this case, it's a podium. It's Toledo. Wow, up the inside. That's got a job done, but it's gone wide. Rato. Wide line.
He's managed to collect it there and hold on to the position. He can do that through the chicane just basically by blocking the line of everyone else. But as you can see from Rato, he's got a little bit more speed right now. He's trying to take those wider lines, carry the corner speed, set the move up down the start-finish straight, use the slipstream from Toledo and try and get yourself back up into third spot. The one thing about it is, moves like that don't tend to cost too much time for the group, so Xavi Cardalus hasn't jumped onto the back of them, even though he's been faster than each of these riders over the last few laps. But suddenly Rato trying to go the long way around the outside. Toledo, though, able to defend that position well. Last year, Kiko, he stepped onto a Moto2 machine, did a really good job having been in stock class for previous seasons, and Toledo trying to fight it out for that podium spot.
Yeah, he's finding his feet here for sure, and he's looking very, very comfortable on it. The thing is, it's not costing him time. And
and that's going to open the door now for Cardalus to get a real run on Rato on the next couple of corners. Cardalus, he's going to be licking his lips at this. He knows that this scrap is going to cost both of these riders time. He might well be there to pick up the pieces.
I was just saying, at the moment it's not costing him any time, but if it carries on, it will start costing him time. And don't discount Garcia, the rookie. He's in 6th and not that far behind.
Yeah, and you can see here for Cardalus, most experienced rider in the field, he's just keeping his powder dry right now. Rato looks like he's got more speed on the brakes, but down the straights, Toledo exits corners quite well, and he's able to just give himself that bit of an advantage. But look at the 13 of Rato. He really is just swarming around right now.
He's one of them riders who, you know, he's just having a real baptism of fire at the minute, and he's just going to be annoying for Toledo to try and control. He's really enjoying his riding at the moment, Rato. He looks good on the bike, and he's definitely found a step within himself.
Yeah, and let's see what Cardalus can do now on the run down the start-finish straight. See if he's able to get close enough to try and make a move. We've obviously got 3 laps to go when Tulovic, the number 3, comes across the line this time around, so all these riders need to be in a position to attack. It does look like in this sector, though, Cardalus losing a little bit of ground onto the start-finish straight, so this is going to open a door now for Rato on the 13, able to make the move even before he has to duck into the slipstream. So Toledo is going to try and put himself in a position to try and attack back on the run into turn 1, but the 13 of Rato has the high ground to be able to defend that. Really good move.
Very good move from Rato. Got the bike absolutely lighting up, coming down the front straight, and used the power that he's got. Back at the front, meanwhile, Tulovic, fastest lap, 39.5. That has been responded to Aegis's attack. It's now 1.8 seconds, and yeah, looking very, very good for Tulovic indeed out front now. 6 laps into this race, 2.5 to go really. Yeah, Aegis is looking like a solid for second, but no one can touch Tulovic at Estoril this year.
Yeah, Tulovic so strong here in Estoril year on year, and finally he's been able to become a race winner, and now he's really digging in to find that consistent pace as well. 2.5 laps to go. He's got 2 seconds at hand now over St. Aegis, but certainly for Aegis up there in second spot, this is really positive for him. Really good start to the season. Just got news as well that is really positive for Sam Wilford. Looks like he's got some bruising and a fractured shoulder, but other than that he's okay, and that's really good to hear after such a serious looking crash. So hopefully for Wilf, he's able to get himself back out here in the next few rounds and show that the form that he had here this weekend is what we can expect from the number 35 going forward. But good to hear from Sam Wilford that he's in relatively one piece after that big crash. As it is right now, in one piece is Liko Tulovic, and he's been perfect all the way through this season so far in the European Championship. He led every lap in race 1. He had pole position, fastest lap in race 1. He's led every lap here in race 2. He's got the fastest lap in this race as well, and he's just stretching out that lead lap after lap from St. Aegis. Really good stuff from Tulovic on the number 3 machine. Really good stuff on the run into turn 1 from Xavi Cardalus. Not quite able to make that move stick, but Cardalus is getting impatient now. He wants to get himself up onto those podium spots. As it is right now, this is the scrap out on the racetrack. This is for 3rd position. Rato on the 13, the 55 of Toledo, and Xavi Cardalus, who's been the fastest rider in this group, but hasn't really been able to put himself into a position to make a move just yet.
Yeah, and if these guys start tripping each other up, less than a second back from them now is Roberto Garcia in 6th place. He's just there, the pink and purple machine at the background. He might well be able to latch on the back if this starts getting a bit feisty. At the moment, Rato's got it. Toledo wants it, and Cardelus is waiting to pick it all up if it does go wrong.
Yeah, there's only half a second between these three riders, so they are really closely matched. Cardelus has the edge in terms of his experience, but he's also got to make up those track positions. He's going to try and get down the inside. He's not close enough to make those moves. It does look like Toledo just has that little bit of a margin right now over Cardelus. That's where the exit now of the chicane is going to be absolutely critical for Cardelus. He needs to be as close as possible leading on to the start-finish straight. A little bit of a bobble there for Cardelus in the change direction. That's cost him a bit of momentum. This is a section of the track where he hasn't been strong, and look at the gap. It's opened up. Suddenly there's far too much work for Cardelus to do. So down on into turn one in the last lap, it might well be a case of Toledo getting close enough to attack Rato, and if that's the case, we know that Rato is going to attack at any opportunity on the final lap, and into that final lap we go with Lucas Tulovic leading the way by 2.5 seconds from Senna Aegis. Really impressive rookie weekend for Senna Aegis on the Moto2 machine. Rato not close enough to attack into turn one here. Toledo's able to hold off, but is he in a little bit hot?
Wide.
Looks like Rato's going to be in a position to try and carry that momentum through the kink. Not close enough though to be able to attack back, but certainly for Toledo he's going to be under pressure all the way through this last lap. The next left-hander, that's going to be a key opportunity for Rato to try and make a move. We'll see if he's able to carry his momentum into it. Not close enough at this stage. Maybe turn 6, Kiko.
Absolutely, turn 6 is now the hot spot, if not into the chicane. But one thing you can be sure of, if the door is open, Rato will be there, and if it isn't open, he'll force it open anyway.
Yeah, and you can see he's close enough now to get a little bit of slipstream down the back straight. Is he going to be able to try and make a move into the left-hander? Toledo really strong in the brakes through there to be able to hold on to that position. We've seen Javi Cardelus try and make some moves into the next right-hander. Is he going to be close enough to try and attack? Doesn't look like it right now, but Rato is close enough to try and make a move into the downhill right-hander. But Toledo really strong in the brakes to hold off that position. Into the chicane, that's going to be the last opportunity for these riders. Cardelus right there with him, ready to pick up the pieces, but it's going to be about Rato. Is he close enough to make a move? No, it's a defensive line there from the number 55 of Toledo, but it's cost him momentum as well. And suddenly Rato, he might be able to carry that tight line and carry his momentum into the final corners of the Parabolica. As it is, Lucas Tulovic, he had never won a race until this morning. He's 2 for 2 in the 2022 campaign here in the Moto2 European Championship. He's going to claim the race victory. Senna Aegis with 2 second-place finishes on his debut weekend in the Moto2 class. Toledo leads on to the last lap, on to the last corner, and Toledo on the 55. Is he able to hold on for that podium?
No.
He mightn't be. It looks like Rato's been able to take that podium spot, and the MMO rider manages to get it by 9 thousandths of a second.
Unbelievable, Matteo Rato. That was superb. He just got the whole thing driving, and instead of trying to stay in the slipstream and being a bit too close to get any advantage, he kept to the racing line, blasted it straight to the line, and just done Toledo out of a podium. Cardelus 5th, Roberto Garcia, the rookie, in 6th, the Squeeg after his 2 penalties in 7th, Kyle Paz for the Philippines up in 8th place, Montero 9th, and Yari Ruiz completes the top 10. What a day of racing, Steve.
Yeah, really good racing all the way through. Just looking further down the order, and Alex Ruiz once again is the top stock rider. He's been able to take Chris Scheibe there on the last lap. There was 0.3 of a second between them as they came across the line. And then it looks like we have Van der Legemat up there on the podium for the stock class as well. The Dutch rider on his Yamaha R6, but today belonged to Lucas Tulovic, and his 2 for 2 start to the 2022 Moto2 European Championship. But keep an eye on this man all the way through the season, because Senna Aegis really has impressed everyone on that number 81 machine to be able to come away with 40 points from his opening weekend here in the Moto2 class. Such a big step forward compared to where we had seen him in the Moto3 Junior World Championship over the last few years, and that is good to see from Senna. And certainly all the lessons that he's been taking from Leon Camir, they're able to come to really good effect on these bigger bikes. Obviously Camir with so much experience on big bikes, a former British Superbike champion, and a lot of experience and podium finisher in World SBK as well. So Camir, he's been able to give Senna as much advice as possible, and Senna's been able to take that advice. And you could see here on the run to the line for the podium spots, look at Rato on that number 13 machine, just about able to edge it. 9 thousandths of a second was the margin as they came across the line. Javi Cardelus, 5th place there at the flag for the number 18. close as you like across the line, and that's the difference between finishing on the podium and finishing in 4th for Alex Toledo, and very bad luck for him. But you can see for Senna Agius, as he comes into Parc Ferme, very matter-of-fact for him down there after race 1. Looks like the same here in this race as well. And for Rato there, Matteo Rato, the 17-year-old, he has been able to claim his first career podium finish here in the Moto2 class. So it's a day of firsts, as you can imagine, on the first race day of the season. And for Lukas Tulovic, really impressive to do the double here in Estoril. It's been a tough day for the Moto2 riders. We've had 3 red flags during their races, 2 in the opening race of the weekend, and then a long red flag delay after Sam Wilford's crash. But good to hear that Sam's in relatively in one piece after that big impact with the wall that brought out the red flag. But for Lukas Tulovic, he had to wait 55 races for his first ever race victory. He only had to wait a couple of hours for his second. And Tulovic on that intact GP Triumph engine machine, able to do a really good job all the way through this weekend. Pole position, 2 fastest lap, 2 race victories, led every lap. Doesn't get much better than that for Tulovic. Down in Parc Ferme as well there, we saw Senna Agius just talking to his team, and we're going to see Matteo Rato as well, the 17-year-old, with his first podium finish in his Moto2 European Championship career, and yeah, he's thrilled with that. And you can see now he just goes in to get himself weighed and get everything checked off, and we'll be able to see him up on the podium in a few moments' time. We'll also get the opportunity to hear from Lukas Tulovic in a few minutes' time. He'll be down there talking to Kiko after this one. And certainly for all these Moto2 riders, they know that this has been a good start to the year, but they know that Tulovic is going to be the rider to beat. You could see here Tulo coming across the line, and again, just really strong performance from him all the way through this weekend, and a dominant race victory in race 1, and a pretty comfortable race victory in race 2, even if Senna Agius was able to apply some pressure middle way through this race. Celebrations down there for the intact team, and certainly they're going to be having quite the reason for celebrations all the way through this season, you'd imagine. Tulovic finally a race winner, and now finally able to just show just how good he can be in this class as well. But very impressive stuff from him all the way through. Going to get the chance to hear from Tulo in a couple of moments' time, and it's going to be interesting to see how he fares after this race, because it was a big challenge for these riders to deal with the red flag. It's a scary instant for Sam Wilford, and all these riders then have to deal with a lengthy delay, try and keep their emotions in check, and get themselves ready to go back out there again. And we're going to get the chance now to hear from Tulo down there in Parc Ferme with Kiko Giles.
Lukas Tulovic, you waited a long time for a victory, and now you've got 2 in a day. Not bad.
Thank you so much. I don't really know what to say now. After the second race, I can really fully relax, because in Moto2, when you have 2 races per day and only 2 hours in between, it's really stressful and tight, and it was a chaos today with many crashes and red flags. Really hope everybody is more or less okay. And another time, fantastic job by my team. I felt so good on the bike today, and Senna did also really strong pace. He really pushed me, and I had to get a bit out of my comfort zone and push more to keep the gap. But no, fantastic. Thanks to everybody behind my back, and let's continue the season like that.
And in German.
Ja, fantastisch. Jetzt nach dem zweiten Rennen kann ich endlich richtig durchatmen. Heute an manchen Rennsonntagen in dieser Meisterschaft haben wir 2 Rennen, gerade mal 2 Stunden Pause dazwischen. Deswegen ist es sehr eng und sehr viel Stress. Und deswegen jetzt nach dem zweiten Sieg kann ich das richtig genießen. Vielen Dank nochmal an mein Team. Die haben fantastisch gearbeitet. Ich fühle mich großartig auf dem Motorrad. Und Senna ist auch ein sehr starkes Rennen gefahren, haben mich wirklich gepusht. Musste ein bisschen aus meiner Komfortzone rauskommen, um den Abstand zu halten oder zu vergrößern. Und auch Glückwunsch an ihn. Hoffe, dass alle Fahrer, die heute gestürzt sind, okay sind. Und let's keep the spirit for the season.
Championship leader, well done.
Thank you so much.
Perfect start to the season for Lukas Tulovic. From pole position here in race 2, he was able to make a fast start. Sene just on the second position on the grid wasn't able to make a fast start. And on the run down in towards turn 1, we saw that it was getting pretty close for action all the way through in the Moto2 class. And that action was all the way right from the outset, with a crash here for the Vision track rider. At the front of the field, we saw Tulovic break away. We saw Sam Wilford up there in the podium scrap as well. Career best effort from him in race 1, and he was trying to back it up in race 2. Hector Garzo, he couldn't get that bike stopped in the early stages of the race. The red flag came out after that crash for Sam Wilford. He was battling for a career first podium position. And in race 2, when we restarted, we saw Tulovic leading the way once again from Alex Estoril. But Estoril on the number 11 machine needed to take a double long lap penalty. This was a crash for Hector Garzo, down at turn 1. He was down at turn 4 in the opening race of the weekend, and he's going to start the season with no points. Battle for second saw Sene just make his progress slowly and surely all the way through. But behind him, it became a battle for the podium, with Alex Toledo, Javi Cardaluz and the number 13 of Matteo Rato trying to attack and battle it out for that final step on the podium. There was action all the way behind them, but a comfortable race victory for Lukas Tulovic to claim 2 from 2 at the start of the season. And in the battle for that third position, it was Matteo Rato that was able to claim the honours as he slipstreamed his way to third position by 0.09 of a second. But Lukas Tulovic opens the year with 2 race victories. Confirmation there that Lukas Tulovic was able to continue his 100% starts this season. 2 race victories in a row for the German. He was able to claim this race success by 2.5 seconds from Sene, who starts the season off with 40 points for 2 second place finishes. A first career podium for Matteo Rato in third spot. He was able to claim that honours by just 0.09 of a second. Further down the order, the leading stock rider was Yari Ruiz once again, and he was able to claim that stock success from Scheibe, and Ryan van der Legement up there as well in the top 15 positions. Further down the order, you can see Hector Garzo there, able to rejoin, but not able to get himself up into anything like the kind of positions he would expect to battle out for a points-paying position. We got ready for the podium celebrations here in the Moto2 class, and Kiko, you're just back up from talking to Tulovic. He's pretty happy with himself, undoubtedly.
He's very happy with himself, and he has absolutely every right to be. Said he felt a little bit of pressure though. Senna was pushing him hard, but Tulovic untouchable at Estoril.
Yeah, Tulo, he's been so strong here at Estoril in the past, but now finally able to get that monkey off his back. And he's had 2 race wins today. He's got 2 weeks to wait until the next chance to get out there. But for Matteo Rato up there on the podium for the first time, this is something important for him as well.
Yeah, very important. Bit of a breakthrough weekend for Rato. Best ever weekend in the class. Absolutely every reason to be smiling. He was absolutely elated down in Park Fairbank.
And rightly so. And elation's going to be the word of the day for Lukas Tulovic. Let's hear the German national anthem for our Moto2 race winner. Two from 2 from Lukas Tulovic, and a great start to the year for the German rider here on the Intact GP bike, and a bit of style there for opening the bottle as well.
I don't open bottles like that. I really struggle with a bottle like that. I don't struggle getting the product out, but opening.
Tell you what, like the challenge for something like that for me was I think I'd just rip my hand apart. And
Yeah.
certainly for Tulovic, though, he's going to get used to spraying the Prosecco all the way through this season, you'd imagine. And he's been such a strong, consistent rider in the Moto2 class in the past, but now finally able to show exactly what he can do at the front of the field. He led every lap all the way through this weekend, Kiko. He's got the full set.
Absolutely, full set. The fastest laps, the poles, the 2 victories, and you know, to boot, he was very, very, very fast on Friday. Cool stuff.
And for Lucas Tulovic, 50 from 50 to lead the way from St. Agius, who had 2 second-place finishes. Matteo Rato, with his first podium finish, able to move up into the top 3 in the championship standings as well. And certainly for a lot of riders in this class, a weekend where they've been able to make big steps forward compared to last year. They're going to have to wait 2 weeks until we're back in action, as you can see there at the Valencia circuit. But for all these riders, they can't wait to get back out there and get going once again. The class within the class in the Moto2 European Championship is the stock class as well. And for these riders, Alex Ruiz able to back up a race 1 success with a race 2 victory. Chris Scheiber was on the podium in race 1 in 3rd position. He goes 1 better in race 2. And Ryan van der Legemat, the Dutch rider, able to stand on the rostrum as well in the stock class. Two wins from 2 from Lucas Tulovic in the Moto2 class, and 2 wins from 2 in the stock class for Alex Ruiz, as he's able to lead the way by 14 points from Chris Scheiber overall. Lucas Tulovic, 2 wins from 2 for him here at the season opening round in Estoril. In 2 weeks' time, the Junior GP paddock will be back in action in Valencia at the Ricardo Tormo circuit. And certainly for Lucas, it can't come soon enough.